I'm Eggy Drago. I am the cream of the crop. I am the yolk on top. I'm a part-time video store clerk, a part-time brawler. Oh yeah, and a full-time human being. Wow. When I went to Tokyo back in February 2024, I went to an idol concert on a whim because my VTuber Oshi, who graduated, was into that scene. Needless to say, I got hooked. Yeah, I think we bought too many Checkies. After talking to a few idols, I realized every single one of them has a story, be it why they chased this dream, their ups and downs, and even their future after all this. And that's what I'm here to do. Learn more about the idol culture, the various scenes around the world, and to give them a platform to tell their stories. Every idol has a dream and a story to tell. This is IDOLEYEZ. A kaigai idol who has been in the scene for more than a decade and someone that everyone should know about. We'll speak to melancholiaah about his idol journey. All eyes on me. IDOLEYEZ, episode 18, Northwest Idol Fest Arc, melancholiaah. Tonight at 5 p.m. PDT, 8 p.m. EDT. Whoa. It's gonna take a little bit. Oh, yeah, there we go. Hello.
There.
Hi.
Wow.
Wow. I am the cream of the crop. I am the yolk on top. This is Mighty Eggy Drago, and we are here for IDOLEYEZ episode 18, part 1 of 18, part 1 of our Northwest Idol Fest arc, and we're kicking things off real hot, real spicy with our guest for tonight. He is El Capitan of Seeker. He has a license to kill. He is going to take your heart. He is melancholiaah.
Hello, yes, I'm here to kill everyone tonight. Hi there, everyone. My name is melancholiaah. I am I guess you could say a veteran, and we'll find that out tonight. That I'm like a skeleton of the idol community here. I primarily do alts, just concepts in general. And I'm looking forward to being on this interview. Thank you, Eggy, for having me.
Thank you for accepting this invite to IDOLEYEZ. And but first, we have to start things off with a little read, a little sponsor read from our friends at Yeah Lights. Lights? Yeah Lights. How can we light up the live? At Yeah Lights, we make your moments shine brighter. Whether you're heading to a concert, a party, or any exciting event, we've got you covered with concert pen lights, light sticks, UOs, colored glow sticks, and accessories that take your experience to the next level. Looking for something special? We also offer customized products in bulk, perfect for connecting fans with idols and making your event unforgettable. Check us out at yeahlights.com and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at YeahLights. Shout out to Yeah Lights. Anyway, IDOLEYEZ. Let's go with melancholiaah. And the first thing we're going to do, we're going to take you back to the past. And I'm going to ask you, how in the world did you get into idol culture or J-pop culture? Yeah.
This is actually like a very loaded question. You might not realize the Pandora's box that opened whenever I first watched Sailor Moon on Cartoon Network in like 2000 and maybe just straight up 2000. So my parents were always very nice to me, and they would always really, if I had a hobby or an interest that I was into at that time, they were going to do everything in their power to make sure that I am invested in that hobby. They really encouraged that. One time, I remember my mom got me some Sailor Moon, like little kisekai dress-up toys, and I was really excited. As she would always like import stuff from overseas. However, of course, she's buying them all secondhand. One of the Sailor Moon toys that I got was in a mini Moni toy box, and I saw them, and I was like, now, who are these guys? So I immediately, my mom did research to find out who are these other cute, because they were in their like little animated like cartoon forms on the box, because it was a toy, and you know that's what they always use for mini Moni toys. and I thought they were so cute. So she did research then to find out, well, who are these other critters on the box? And then it was kind of just a downhill spiral from there.
I see. Who would you say like I guess like first favorite group or like first favorite like soloist and like um
I have to give it up to Mini Moni.
okay.
They were for sure my first favorite.
Do you have like a
Um,
Oshi from that group?
I did. I and I'm still very biased. Ivan was always my favorite. When all the scandals went down with Ivan, I was there and I was like, she doesn't deserve this. I was so I was like so into it. I would draw Ivan all the time for one of the Christmases. All I asked for was like Ibon photo books, Ibon photo cards, W singles, because W was like happening at that time, and of course my parents got it for me because that's all I wanted. And for years I would just not shut up about Ibon. So they really they made me the OG son that I am today.
um, I guess with that, what really inspired you to become an idol? I know like you started out pretty young, I would say, like
Mhm.
as an active idol. Like what really inspired you to like go to this path?
Honestly, I don't really know. I don't really know. I was always interested in like theater arts and things. Um and my parents had put me in acting classes at a very, very young age because I had expressed interest in that. So they thought, okay, well, let's put us into acting classes and we'll do some things there. But I also really enjoyed singing and anything that had to do with theatrical performance in a sense I really liked. And of course, growing up surrounded by like anime and idols, I had also really had an interest in like super early like Heisei era like Annie-san too. So I just kind of started. I also was going to anime conventions from 2004 onwards, and there were karaoke rooms all the time. So I would always want to perform at the karaoke spaces because I thought that they were really fun. And I love these Annie song, even if I'm not saying any of the correct words, because I'm literally like 5. Like, I don't know what I'm talking about, or if I may even saying anything remotely close. But I really enjoyed doing it, and the reception was always so warm, and people were always so nice and so encouraging. But of course, that also goes hand in hand with how like old taku culture was back then, you know, like everyone was just there to have a good time, and kind of meet other like dweebs together. So everyone was encouraging of really everything. But I think if I didn't grow up kind of doing all of those shows, and then naturally as time progressed people would make like an anime idol, American Idol like spin-off competition type things. That was back in the day, those were really the only spaces that you'd have to like do idol activities. So I kind of just did that, and I just kind of never stopped. I just kind of did it forever. And now I don't really know anything besides that. So I think I just kind of stuck with it forever because in a sense it feels like a home for me.
I see. Like yeah, like if you're comfortable with like that like space, you might as well like go through with it,
Hmm.
right? Yeah. Shout out to Fluff.
Right, right. Hi, Fluff.
Hi Fluff. Um, you said you did theater performances. You also did like karaoke. So like you have a sense of like performing publicly, right? Like was there like anything?
Absolutely.
Was there anything that you've like before Idol? Like did you do like vocal lessons? Did you do like dance classes? Any of that sort?
Um, I never did any dance classes. I'm not really good at dancing, which is why it's so great being a solo idol because you have the excuse of, oh, I'm focusing all of my energy on
On
singing,
vocals, yeah.
so you don't have to see me dance. Yeah. So that's always great. But I throughout school, I did do like choir for a really long time. And I spend a lot of time, especially after transitioning. I've spent like double the time, kind of like doing at home vocal lessons. It's just a lot of rehearsal, a lot of experimenting with things, trying to get to figure out my own voice. But growing up, I never really did anything like that. I just kind of did whatever extracurriculars there was in public school after I finished my like theater school for a while. So nothing in particular. I just watched idols and I just really liked them. I'd say that was a really good training in itself. Honestly, I think a lot of people um, they don't study like the performers that are already active and the performers that are performing their hearts out. I think that doing a lot of research in like current and old idols as well, you really get to pick up a lot of like tips and tricks, just by kind of consuming that endlessly.
I see. We're gonna go through your whole history with a lot of groups, but beforehand, like, you started out, I would say, like in the heyday of like the kaigai idol scene. Like when you were starting
Right, yeah.
out, when you were starting out, what was it like online, or like what was it like, where like nearby?
I think that on the for a really long time there wasn't anything online. So naturally, in the very first like conceptual, I guess, like weird beginnings of like Kaigai Idol things, it was very much just. And this is like so wild to me looking back now because people aren't really as like nowadays. If people do idol stuff, they're like, oh well, I really liked Idolmaster, or I really like Love Live, or
Yeah.
Oshinoko, and they like source that as their inspiration. But back in the day, like that was not what it was at all. Back in the day, it was I really, really, really liked Barry's Kobo. So I wanted to recreate their outfits and I wanted to perform one of their songs live on stage. And that's what a lot of it was. And also a lot of it was a lot of like J-pop cover groups did a lot of Eurobeat and para para like routines because that was also really popular. So like Hinoi Team, Gyaruru. There were a whole lot of that as well. There was a bunch of interlapping. So before there was even online stuff, that was already happening at conventions, and it was really cool to see. Already being like an idol fan from the womb, basically. But online, it was. I think now online you can find people kind of in like your same city that do like we called it like net idol back in the day, but you can find a lot of people that do that now like in your same city. Back in the day it was if you were doing net idol stuff, the next closest person to you is going to be like I'm in Texas, the next person that I know is doing net idol stuff is going to be in New York City. Everyone was so far out. I'd say probably until the Becky Cruel like boom, and then it started getting a little more nearby, especially in Europe. A lot of people were very close.
Right.
But before then, like it was very sparse. And I think that going directly to anime conventions and finding your nearest Hello Project cover group was the best way to kind of get into the scene, I guess you could say, if you could even call it a scene back then, honestly.
I see. So, while doing research for this episode, I kind of like based all of my like research on a video that you did 4 years ago, which was that um your decade as an idol, and it was like a medley. So we are gonna roll right through with it. So, round one, you were in a group called Cruel Angels Project. What was Cruel Angels Project? Oh shit. Oh,
Cruel
okay.
Angels Project is the um am I okay? Am
Oh
I
yeah, yeah.
cutting out?
Oh no, no, it was fine. It was cutting out for a little bit. It was fine. It's fine now. It's fine now. It's
Oh,
fine now.
okay. If it does, let me know. My internet gets really bad at nighttime for some reason. Well, I know the reason. I live in the middle of the woods.
Oh,
Anyways, the Cruel Angels Project was this is a whole lot. So Cruel Angels Project started out as like a group of international like net idols at the time, um, because Becky Cruel got so popular over in Japan. She was immediately signed to this. Oh God, I think that agency was called Life is So Cruel, and they started a Cruel Angels project, and we were all supposed to be like foreign angels. Um, and we were just weebs. We were all just like super like weebs who just like J-pop. But there was a bit of a trend at a while, especially with like Akiba idol type of vibes of foreign idols for a little bit. And I think in about 2010, they maybe it was even 2009, but they rounded up a whole bunch of us, and they had a Cruel Angels project, and then there was also Becky Cruel and the Cruel Girls or Cruel Angels. There's some maybe that's flip flopped, but they grabbed a couple of us to make like a real idol group over in Japan, and that was signed. Well, that they were being, I guess, released under Tokuma Japan at the time, and at the time, Tokuma had Perfume. So that it was like a really big deal. It was a really big deal. Of course, they only did one single because it absolutely flopped because people only cared about Becky really, and it was really only people in Akiba that were super into her. But it was just this kind of like weird project with a bunch of net idols, and it was just this big thing. Everyone wanted to be a Cruel Angel. Everyone wanted to do it. So I guess I would really say that that was kind of the catalyst of everyone wanting to try doing net idol stuff in like the early 2010s on the internet. That was like the worst like description of it ever, but that's the best that I can give, truly.
What was it? In that video you said like you got a passport and it kind of like fell through, right?
Yeah, so the story with that is so initially I had so they had pulled me actually for Cruel Angels project because I already had so the thing with Becky and her like Donjo. Oh, my cat's eating my headphones. Hey, can you stop? You're choking yourself.
Oh no.
Wait, can I have that? Okay. She's fine. Don't worry
Okay,
about it.
okay.
She's a menace. Becky's thing started up and she blew up in about 2009. I had already had traction in about 2008 because I was doing like cosplay vocal covers online at the time, and I was already on like TV shows and news outlets and things over in Japan. So they saw that and they wanted to yoink me in for the project as well because they thought I would be a good fit for it. However, everyone else that was in it was like 14 and over. And I was, I think, like 10 or 11. But I think, and this is just me over time processing things. I think at the time, um, in the grand scheme of things, I ended up being too young for them to feel okay doing it,
Right.
which was really disappointing at the time. Obviously, now I'm like, yeah, obviously. But at the time, it was 2009. We were just coming off of the 2008 like economic crisis, the big recession. Nobody has money, and my mom spent all this money because they had already started signing contracts, getting contracts ready for me to be over there and debut with this group, and it was going to be life changing. So we put all this money in with it and everything. My mom got me a passport, which they're not cheap, and she got a passport too because obviously she's not going to let her like 11-year-old child go alone. And we got a whole new wardrobe for me. And then last minute, about probably 3 or 4 weeks before we were really supposed to like fly out, they decided, okay, well, we're gonna go with someone else because we just don't like we don't. And at the time, I was like, they don't like me. This is bullying. But I mean, ultimately, I agree. Like, I was really, really, really young. Obviously, I think that it could have been really fun. But I mean, it was like 15 years ago now at this point, almost. So I can't harbor any ill will to it. I think that all of the people that ended up debuting over with the Cruel Angels project, like in the official group, all ended up having a really good time, and doing their own things anyway. So it's not like that could have been the catalyst to change my life forever. I mean, I'm obviously still here doing idol
Right.
stuff. So whatever.
Was there, I guess, like getting kind of getting into the project, was there anything that you like took away from that?
Um, I think I kind of realized that the idol industry is really, really kind of cutthroat, and not even
It
from like
is.
the idol side, but definitely like management and things. I think that the managers always really didn't. I guess after because obviously I wasn't going to be doing any of the corresponding myself because I'm like
You're like 10,
literally like
11.
1 years old. Yeah.
Yeah.
So obviously I wasn't doing it. So my parents were doing a lot of that for me. And obviously they had a lot of like, well, that doesn't seem, I don't want my 10-year-old like doing this, that, and they interjected in a lot of things, which they should have, but I think that the management a lot of times didn't really like that. They had like a certain idea for me, being a 10-year-old. And we can all infer about this kind of thing. But my parents didn't really like that. And in turn, I think that they ended up not really liking me. And it kind of put a target on my back, in the company for a little bit. So I think I kind of realized at that time, I was like, oh wow, like people, unless you kind of like bend and twist to whatever people are gonna tell you, like especially at that time. I can't say for everything now, but at that time, like you're not really gonna prosper as well in the industry as you would really like to, even if you have the talent for it.
So after that, round two, you were. I might as well just like count it by rounds. You were in a group called Oishi Ichigo. What was Oishi Ichigo?
So Oishi Ichigo, this one's way, if you thought Cruel Angels Project was loaded, this one's even more loaded. So Oishi Ichigo back in 2012, maybe 2011, I don't know. Time is a concept. The Oishi Ichigo project was created by get this, a hate blog. It was created by, there used to be this thing called Dansa no Himitsu, which was just dancer secrets, and it was made kind of inspired by like Gyaru secrets and Lolita secrets and all these different like hate blogs back in the day. They were like so popular. It was just basically Mean Girls. And there was this thing, and it was just a Tumblr blog, and people would submit anonymous asks, about like how much they hated this one person's thing, or if they liked this one person's video but they thought that they looked ugly in it, and just, like so catty, so bleh. But at the time, like every single person that had anything to do with kaigai idols or anything like that, that is what like everyone was looking at that. And I can't even say that I wasn't. I mean, I was a kid, so naturally I'm like, oh no, what is everyone saying about me? I'm in middle school and what is this? But one day the creator decided that she wanted to turn a new leaf, and she thought that it wasn't fun and nice anymore, which correct.
Right. Yeah.
It wasn't.
It's
It
toxic.
wasn't. It was horrible. It
Yeah.
was like horrible. And she had become friends with a lot of people who were active like net idols at that time, and she started like feeling bad for everything, because she realized like, oh my gosh, no wait, everyone's just really nice and everyone's just trying to have a good time. So she and Becky Cruel got together and made Oishi Ichigo, which was a net idol project, basically with a bunch of people from all around the world. You had Chi, which was she had a music project called Remote Girl. You had Risa May, who now does Kokomi and Genshin Impact, like voice acts
Oh,
as her.
holy
You
crap.
had Ali and Sally, which we all know, Wink,
Wink.
like what's going on
Oh
there.
my god.
We with the there's a lot of like really Kimono Time, Kelsey, big TikToker now. There's a lot of people that were in this project together, because we all just like started this one thing together. We had fun together, so it was all of us together. We had a goal to make original music, and we did that. But I don't know if it was like, it's definitely aged in a way, but I think that a lot of people, if they knew about it nowadays, they would think that it's really cute and have a lot of nostalgia for it.
Yeah, I tried like researching it or like researching the group if like you had like any original music out kind of like,
Mhm.
there's nothing. There's like only one thing, which was like a Dutch idol wikia that had like the roster of like all the members of Oishi Ichigo, and that's about it. Like that's the only
That's
like remnants
wait,
of like,
really?
yeah, legit. I tried like
I
googling
have this. I have copies of the single. I could just rip it and send it to you.
what. Yeah,
Wait, it wasn't a single. It was an EP. I lied. It was an EP.
yeah, cause like in that in the medley, you were like, they had plans to like spin off like
Oh yeah.
Oishi, kiwi, mango,
They had.
pineapple.
That's exactly it. There were a lot of so the only thing that really came about it was Oishi Ichigo. I think in the end they bit off a little bit more than they could chew. But there were a lot of people that were still involved in those like kind of spin-off groups. You have Vicky from Ice Cream, who I know was a part of it. You had some old like staff members of like ACT 102, and it was a lot of really cool stuff that was going on there, for sure.
Mm. Why? I mean, like when you were in what? Oh my god, when you were participating, like creating like a whole song or a whole EP, right? Or
It was a whole EP.
whole
Yeah,
EP.
there were 3 songs, and then I believe all of them also had a Japanese version.
Mm. What was it like? I guess doing stuff for the EP as like
If
someone super young, like.
see, that's really the kicker, because with Cruel Angels Project, everyone was still like younger teens. With Oishi Ichigo, I think that everyone was like 18 and up. There may have been some like 16, 17-year-olds in the mix, but I must reiterate, I was like 12. So imagine you're like an 18, 19-year-old, and there's just this random 12-year-old who's
just
also a part
just
of
there.
it. It's like that one K-pop group. I don't know who they are, but everyone keeps yelling about them because there's like a bunch of 14-year olds, and then there's like one like 22-year-old, and everyone's like, she hates her life. It was very much that, but the opposite. I think that obviously I'm a kid, so I didn't have means to like get a really good microphone. I didn't have me. I just there was I couldn't do all that stuff myself. Whereas now as an adult, if I need a better microphone, I can do that. If I need to go rent studio space, I can do that. But as a kid, like I can only beg so much, you know. So it was a bit difficult for me, honestly, because I wouldn't bring stuff up to the same quality as a lot of the other members would. I didn't have a DSLR to record clips for the music video. I didn't have a nice at that time. Everyone was just basically using USB mics, but I didn't even have a nice USB mic for it. There was it was a bit difficult, and I could definitely tell that people would get a little bit annoyed at me, but that's okay. Like, I'm 14, 13, 12, I don't know. But I would, it could be frustrating, so I understand and empathize with it. So it was difficult. It was difficult. I definitely felt like I held them back a little bit at times.
I mean, you gotta make do with what you got, right? Like,
Right, and they accepted me into the group knowing all of that at the same time. So I have, despite being kind of like weh at the time. I mean, I'm a kid, of course I'm gonna be weh, but I think that I still had a good time with it, and I am proud of what we released regardless.
given that experience, like, was there? I'm gonna ask like the same thing at the end, but like, was there like anything that you learned from like doing that project?
Ah, hmm. I think at that time it was a kind of a strange time in my life, because I was in this weird zone that people call puberty at that time, and I was kind of like dealing with this like toss up of like, I'm growing up, and I'm still like, but I'm still trying to like hold on to this thing that I used to have, especially from like the fans of mine that had like carried on over to all the group things that I had done over time. But I was kind of like losing a lot of that traction, because I wasn't like 10 years old anymore, and obviously that's why everyone was like there. Bleh, gross. I was growing up, but I was still trying to kind of hold on to this like youthful, really fun, bouncy type of persona, and I did get a lot of like I did get a lot of hate during that time, which sucks. I don't think that any 14, 13, 12-year-old should, really face that. Even if, I mean, granted, I don't think that like that 2-year-old should be on the internet anyways. But if you are gonna be, I think looking back, it does suck that I was kind of a victim to a lot of that kind of thing. But I think also at the same time, um, I think I got to learn about myself more in that time. I think I got to learn what I needed to do to still enjoy doing like idle things while still like finding like a happy medium of like being myself and then also still pursuing this. And I think without Oishi Ichigo and without kind of being in this like almost like constant like stressful like not even from like the members or the staff or anything like that, but just like from the people that were seeing us online at that time. Nowadays people who are haters hide in little corners, and you just don't have to go there and look. But before, like, people were very outwardly like boo, and it was really mean. But I think I just kind of learned to stop caring about that as much and to stop letting that dictate kind of who I am and the experiences that I have as well.
I see. Yeah, it's like being experienced to that like at a young age is not great, but like at least
I, I think that I've gotten a lot like wiser though.
yeah,
Not to like
like
toot my own horn, but I think because I experienced that, I'm a lot more empathetic and a lot more like supportive of a lot of things that if I didn't experience and like grow up in these like such like hateful spaces, honestly, and even I can't lie, like participated in it at the time because that's what everyone else was doing. So I thought, oh, okay, well, this is fine. It wasn't. Pro tip. But I think without that and without experiencing that at like a young age, I think I would have ended up a lot more like different of a person. So I'm kind of happy that I was cyberbullied. That sounds horrible. That sounds horrible. But really, like I think it did help me like as an individual. So I'm not too upset with it.
okay. It's kind of fucked up to think, but
It's
like
fine. It's fine. But there's a happy ending, I promise.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
still here.
Yeah, you
I'm
are.
still doing stuff. So
All right, round 3. I think this is the last of your past groups. We're gonna talk about Shiawase / Happy Project. What was it, and how did you like discover it?
So as I mentioned earlier, Happy Project was a well, as I mentioned earlier, early before internet convention type days, people would just do like Hello Project covers. And I think that a lot of that was in part of all of like Hello Project's like silly like English lessons and like variety shows where they would learn English would get a lot of traction and be subtitled. So a lot of people that were into like J dramas and things like that at the time also really liked idols, specifically Hello Project idols. And that was what we had. Like that was what we had. But not only that, there was like Speed and Zone. Like both of those groups were still kind of popular too. But there were just cover groups for that. And in Texas, at that time, there were 2. And you either picked one or the other. And I was a Happy Project stan. And they just did a whole ton of Hello Pro covers. And they were so cool because they recreated all of like music video costumes, stage concert costumes, just all these different costumes. And they would put on their own twist of them sometimes, but like they would have things that are like custom embroidered. Like they were so good. I still have all of their merchandise despite being like a member because I was going to their live performances. I was going to anime conventions just to see them because I loved their work so much. They were so cool. They were really a bit of a trailblazer. I'm tooting my horn, not only as like a member of them, but also a fan of them first and foremost. Not only were the members like beautiful people, but also like they worked so hard. They were one of like the first like I would say like kaigai idol groups that were being invited as guests to anime conventions and performing like 1 hour long concerts 2 times a weekend at these conventions, and they were literally just covering Hello Project songs. That is so metal. Like it was so cool. Um I was just a fan of them. And they did stuff in person. Then online stuff started happening. They did stuff online, and one day one of the members graduated. One of the founding members graduated, and there were only three of them. And they thought, okay, well, we need to open up auditions. So my parents, being once more the goat, to cater to say, you want to do this silly performance thing, we got you. They drove me up to Oklahoma, which was about a 12-hour drive to go to their producer's like studio. Because about a year prior to that, they did a whole rebrand. They changed from Happy Project to Shioase, and they released their very first single, and that was, I think, probably one of the first like kaigai idol in America type of original music thing that we ever had. Like it was, for me, it was monumental. I don't know if for anybody else, but for me, that shook my whole world. So I was really excited. And then they had this member graduate, and I was like, okay, well,
Might as
that's
well.
so crazy. I'm like your biggest fan. What if I drove 12 hours to like look at you in this studio? So I auditioned for them at this one. We drove up 12 hours for a 1 day audition. We were planning on going back the very next day.
Oh my god.
I auditioned with the my audition song was Nightmares the World, the Death Note opening.
What?
Yeah, I don't listen. I thought that it would sound really good on my voice, and it worked because I got in. I got the call
Yeah.
the next morning before we left, and they said, "Hey, you're in." And it was like kind of surreal to me because I grew up loving all of these members. Like I was a fan of them. Yeah, that's my cat. I'm sorry. She really wants in the closet. But no, we're out of the closet. We can't go back in. Um, my the I ended up being really good friends with them in the end. And it was like this like weird switch of like being such a big fan of them and then being like the fun new member. And all three of the members that we're with, obviously we've never like had an official like we're done for, it's over. It's just kind of been like an indefinite hiatus for like ever and ever. But I'm still really close with all of the members, and we're all like still really good friends. So even though we're not performing together obviously anymore and doing the same stuff that we used to, they really, after like a whole like 5-6 years of just honestly kind of like BS, they and their kindness and their just excitement for performing like idol songs that I really loved and all that, like it really healed me as a person. Like they just a beautiful experience. And if anybody's ever in a group, I really, honest to God, hope that that is an experience that you get to have as well.
I see. So that was a good experience with Shiawase,
Yes.
Happy Project. And then you get out of groups. You are now solo as
Yeah.
melancholiaah. So,
Yes.
so melancholiaah. what was the origin behind your stage name?
So melancholia, on when I talk to people, I say melancholia started in 2018, but that is not true. That is not true. Melancholia actually started in 2016, and it was I was I probably throughout this whole journey, I'm gonna be talking about somebody named Akira Complex a lot. But for ease of talking, I'm just gonna refer to them as Charlie because that's what I don't call like by their stage name forever, you know. So my friend Charlie was doing a CD with, I believe, Camellia, and they needed vocals for their title track and the intro track. Their new EP called Reality Distortion. They were getting ready to sell it at Comic-Con, and Charlie and I have been long time friends before like really any of this. Just because we both like DDR, so we got to know each other through that. But they had asked me to provide the vocals for that. And I was like, okay, cool. So I did, and it was all fun and yay. And then the time came for the CD to be printed and for the booklet to have its like final credits in and stuff. And it was going to be done, pressed, and sold at Comic-Con about like a week and a half later. They messaged me and were like, hey, what do we credit you as in the booklet? And I was like, obviously I can't just say like my name. Like I can't just like I don't have anything like fancy. So we stayed up and tossed ideas at each other for like hours. And eventually I was like, okay, well, everything that I'll use this for like original projects. Sorry, my cat's like
It's fine. It's fine.
she wants to be involved so bad. Hey, I love you so much. No biting. Okay. So we came up with the name Melancholiaah kind of together because we were planning on doing a lot of works together and all this stuff. So we came up with it together, and now like they've passed away last year, and it's definitely been like a heavy I don't want to say burden, like it's not a heavy burden, but like having the name and knowing that we like created that together for this like special thing that kind of launched me into doing what I do now. It's like it's made like the project a little bit more emotional for me than I could have ever really thought it would be ever in the past. But that is the story behind my stage name.
I see. Cause like doing research, you kind of like delved through it a little bit in that original medley. So I was like, I kind of want to like expand on that. So,
Yeah.
Oh crap! Oh shit! Oh no! The camera! Oh no! Whoa! Oh my god! Did the cat do that? Cat! Oh my god! Oh shit! Did the mic? El microphone! Destroyed the mic and the camera. Oh shit!
Wow.
You know what? Episodes with technical difficulties end up the best, so that's fine. So
it's a good omen. It's a good omen.
It's a good omen. So yeah.
Oh my god.
So oh my god. What was I on? Yeah. Name origin. You kept that name throughout. So
Yes.
Do you remember your first performance as Melancholiaah? How was that?
I do. So my first performance as Melancholiaah was at A-Kon, which is Texas's like biggest anime convention. It's our oldest, it's our biggest. I was obviously nervous, but leading up to it, I was already doing like online like covers, and I was just making them these like kind of like cryptic, like weird, like I'm sitting here and I'm just staring at the camera type of like videos with a bunch of effects and stuff. And I started like doing. At first, it was just gonna be like a vocal project. I was just gonna provide vocals for like video games, other things like that. But I decided that the time I started Melancholiaah as what it is now was in 2018, and I was in just like the worst mental health space ever. I was studying overseas. No one liked me, so I spent a lot of time alone. And doing like these covers online was very therapeutic for me, and it made me feel like I had somebody, despite every time I posted a new one, people were like, what's wrong with you? You're weird now. Why are you covering all these weird, scary songs? I thought that you were cute, but it was so fun. and I did a live performance at Acon 2018, I believe. My first performance was at the Texas Idol Festival. It was the only Texas Idol Festival that was held at Acon. And the songs that I performed were Seiko Omori's Silent Majority, her version of Silent Majority. I also did Gang Parade's Beyond the Mountain and Radwimps's Nandamanaya, which doesn't fit at all, but Your Name had like just come out, so it was really popular. And I was like, there's no way that I'm gonna do a Seiko Omori song, a Gang Parade song, and then just end it there. Like no one knows who these artists are. I gotta do a cherry on the top and icing on the cake type of thing.
Right.
So I did that one as well. But it was a really, really, really fun performance. Obviously, looking back, I'm like, because I was really shaky. But that was something that I know in previous years really bothered me because I have like respiratory issues. I have a heart condition. So like doing live performances, I'm always like really nervous because I kind of lose my breath and I lose my like capabilities a lot sometimes. I get in my head too. But that was kind of the first performance where I've ever done where I just kind of thought like I don't even care. Like I don't even care. So it was very raw. It was very rough around the edges, but it was really well received and everyone was so nice. I could not believe because I'm like literally crawling around on the stage. I'm like pointing at people and like shaking them around too, but like it was a whole lot of fun. It was a lot of fun and the reception was really great. I remember at the meet and greet Paida had also performed at that event that year, and we were both like the only two soloists, and we had like very limited merch, so we just morphed our tables together, and we just had a fun little like handshake meet and greet with everyone after the show. When I first started Melancholia, I did this thing called Blessings. I'm thinking about bringing it back yet. I don't know. I'm gonna workshop it. But I would ask people who like bought an item from me, specifically a photo card or a checky. I was like, okay, well, is there something that's troubling you in life right now? And I would give them a little bit of advice, and then I would put a little like lipstick kiss on it and give them their item. And it was a really fun way to connect with people because in a sense, Melancholia is made into what it is now as kind of a way for me to channel like all of my depression into that I was feeling, all the loneliness that I was feeling, and all of this. So it felt really fulfilling to kind of share that like I guess vulnerability with the people that were just cheering me on in the audience as well. And kind of helped me realize like, oh well, like nobody is alone in this. Like we're all in this together, and that's how it should be. So that was kind of how my first performance was like, and I think of it very fondly.
Going through that video, like the small tidbit was like, I was gonna ask, like, was there like a shift in the Melancholia concept? Cause like in that video you were like, it was not a great time for you, and then like after the performance you like shifted a little bit in like the concept or something like that.
Yeah, I would say so. I think that a lot of when I first started Melancholia more as an idol project versus just like a vocalist project, a lot of it when I was overseas and kind of just like by myself, I had a lot of time to think about things, and I had already gone through like therapy previously, not for like any of the group stuff that I had done, but some of the like the solo stuff that I had done even before groups and things like that. Like if people see a young at the time a young girl on the internet, like people are going to take advantage of them, of the family behind them, because internet was so new. People don't like know how to, and there was just a lot of trauma and a lot of like PTSD with it that I spent a really long time trying to heal from. But when I spent all that time alone, I kind of rehashed it in a sense. But I wasn't as like sad anymore. I was like pissed off. Like I didn't know what my feelings really were at the time, but I was angry, and all idol music at that time was something that really helped me channel that, and making these like weird kind of awkward videos was really helping me through these feelings. But I did this live performance and it was all like screamy, it was raw, it was kind of gross. And then I met everyone at the meet and greet, and And I think that a lot of times people say like, oh, an idol is so ooh, like, yeah, I love the idol, but I think that a lot of times people don't really realize that it truly is like a two-way street.
Yeah,
Like
it
it
is.
really is. A lot of people think, oh, an idol's just doing it for whatever reason, like she's just in it for the job, she's just in it for the but truly, I think that a lot of idols like truly love what they do. And at that time, I really like everyone's kindness and everyone's honesty, and like really everyone was wearing their heart on their sleeves that meet and greet. I kind of realized that it wasn't any longer like a revenge project where I wanted people that hurt me as a kid and hurt my family and hurt me, stunted me and my development growing up. I didn't want it to be a look what you've done to me anymore project. I wanted it to be a I can grow from here. Like, what is the next step in this like world that I feel has been crumbled, but how can I still create something beautiful in that? So there was definitely a shift after even just that first performance. I think that I was still performing like the same things, but the the heart behind it was kind of shifting, and the ideas behind it were shifted.
I see. So going through with like your first performance, and then in December 2018, you released your first single, which was "Pale."
Yeah.
Along with two other B-sides. What was the creative process between those three tracks?
The funny part about Pale is obviously I'm not very I'm not very super proud of it. I have like never performed anything from it. I think I maybe did Dead Decade once or twice. In my like almost like 40-50 performances. But it's really funny because I was interviewed at a convention, I think in September or August of that same year. I was interviewed by Martha. They run Texas Idol Festival and are also a wonderful solo artist as well. They interviewed me for a video blog project that never really got published, and I think it's a bit sad that it never got published because in that interview I was asked, do you have any plans for original music? Because at that time there weren't really any like original like I'm just myself type of projects. Everyone was like a kind of a cosplay idol of some sort. So they asked me, do I have any plans for original music? And I said, absolutely not. um, this is like literally like 2 or 3 months before I released Pale. I'm like, no, I'm just gonna like keep performing. Like, I just want to do like Mice on Book Girl songs and like Sorata Sakura. Like, that's all I want to do. That's my vibe. Um, 3 months later, I have my first single physically. You can get it. You can listen to it digitally. You can buy like merchandise to go along with it. I made back whenever I first started doing melancholia stuff online, and I was still living abroad, there used to be overseas idol collection. I think that it's gone through a bunch of different like iterations. Now they had a contest of just make a music video, do a song cover or a music video or whatever, a dance cover. And whoever wins gets a bunch of different like programs, like video editing, music editing, a whole like studio suite. So I won. And I sat there with all of these programs and I thought, well, what if I just messed around a little bit? So I messed around a little bit, and I made a couple of things. And I thought, well, okay, I'll just. I still don't know how to mix at all. I mixed everything myself. I did everything myself, and I just released it into the world. And it was really well received. I think that I only made like 15 or 20 copies of it, but they sold out on the first event that I had them, and I was like, wow, everyone thinks I'm so cool. This is so nice. People are supporting original music too. Cool. Okay, that's enough.
Oh,
And
no!
then I ended up doing like 18 billion other songs with, but yeah, that was that one. That was the creative process there.
Um, so I was like going through your discography on Spotify, and like I was looking at the plays or like your most popular releases, which was like mostly stuff from your recent first album and like your first no most
Right.
recent single. But like the one thing that like that really like stood out to me was Vaughn, because Vaughn had like 400,000
Yeah.
plus plays. I was like, what? Do you have? Do you? Was there a reason for that?
So Vaughn was actually a cover song of one of the insert songs from the anime Zankyo no Terror. It's like a psychological horror series. So it kind of I really like Zankyo no Terror, so I was like, okay, cool. So I remade the instrumental. I translated the lyrics because it's in a different language. I forget what language, but I translated the lyrics. I did my own like trans lyric of it, and I just did a cover of it. And I don't think that the original song is on Spotify. I don't think that the
Oh,
original version is on Spotify. So people who want to listen to that song, just listen to that one.
listen to you. Yeah.
So I
So
think that's why it has so many listens, because people are like, oh my god, I love this anime song. So they just listen to that one because you can't listen to the original one. And if you can, that one probably has more listens. But it's kind of how I'd say, like Bon Iver has Skinny Love, and then Birdie also has a cover of Skinny Love, but they both are still like very popular because one of them's like a sad boy singing it, and then the other one's like this like soft like type of like vocal singing it. So I think that people would listen to that one even if the original one is on Spotify, but I don't think that it is.
do you think people that listen to Vaughn, do you think that that was like a gateway to like your other music? Do you think like there was like fans like
I
evolved from that?
don't really know. It is very possible, but I have never really done like when I have like live performances, honestly, if people see me, they're not gonna be like, "Oh, I heard your Vaughn cover." They're fully gonna be like, "Wow, I love your YouTube Toad sings." So
Oh,
that's that's mainly what it's gonna be
okay.
if anyone ever tells me anything like that.
Mm, all right. So with that first single, boom. You released your first EP, which was "Let's Meet at the End of the World." Uh, kind of confused. Like when I was searching up, I think like Bandcamp had the song titles in English. Spotify had them in Japanese. I was like, what? So yeah,
Yeah,
that's that.
my distributor, my online distributor hates me. So so they made it very at that time you couldn't have like a J-pop genre, and if you did have a J-pop genre, you couldn't have the songs be like romanized.
Right.
So you had to have it in kanji if you were saying that the language of of the songs were in Japanese.
Oh.
They could have no romanization. So I was like, all right, well, I guess I'm screwed. So that's that's why.
Can you explain like the concept of the whole the whole EP?
Yeah. So I kind of just wanted to experiment a little bit. My first single, while it wasn't something that I was ever like necessarily 100% proud of, it was kind of like to test myself a little bit and see if I could do something. Um, so I thought, okay, well, at that time, especially in Texas, I can't really speak for everywhere, but Texas Idol Festival made it very like very cool for like budding idols at that time because there was it was very niche, but like the scene was very active. Like the supporters were going to every single Texas Idol festival that was happening. So there was a lot of support at that time, and it was all really fun. It felt I the best I can explain it was really it felt like how Chica Idol like circuits are, you know, everyone knows everyone, and you see the same familiar faces all the time, and they're coming to all of your events, and they're coming to buy all of your new stuff and shake your hand every time and buy your techies every time. And so I thought, okay, well, I did a single. What's next? Like I enjoyed it actually. So I did Sekai no Owari de Aimashou. And the concept of it is I had already been kind of delving into this like, oh, the end of the world is here, and it's still here by the way. But but like I wanted to kind of delve in on this like concept, this like dystopian concept, but it's not necessarily like dystopian as like very literal kind of like it could be portrayed, but it was always for me it was more kind of a reflection of like my internal like end of the world, you know, because every day I'm melancholia, I'm always in melancholy, it's the end of the world in my heart, yeah. So that's kind of the concept that I was kind of rolling with for that.
I see. Um, for the EP, I like on the Bandcamp listing, you had like a small passage, and like you listed like people like producers like Kamikaze Bitch, DJ Amaya, Creepy. You this was like way before Phoebe like became a VTuber, but like she was like doing.
Mhm.
You had her do like translations. How did you like get in contact with that caliber of people?
I think I had, well, so it was, I already had like so much experience under my belt, and I, since I've already been doing stuff for so long, like people kind of knew who I was. I knew Amaya because we had mutual friends because we're both really big Idol fans. I knew Creepy because we both were very active in like the Japanese street fashion scene, and we had mutual friends. I knew Phoebe because Phoebe was just now starting to do idol stuff, and I didn't know KB at the time, but I listened to his stuff on SoundCloud, and I really liked his music on SoundCloud. And SoundCloud was where I really found a lot of like artists that I would get and commission to help me produce tracks. Way back when, I just kind of like listened to cool people's music, and I thought, well, okay, well, I'm gonna give them a little message and see if they're available. And at that time, every single person that I messaged was available and down to do it. So I was like, okay, cool, like let's go. And I think that it also helped because I had known Charlie, and I'd already done work with them, not only in the Reality Distortion EP, but also at that time, I believe around that same era, I had just done vocals for a Beatmania song with them and Homarju too. So I had a little bit of like pull in case they were like a little bit suspicious, but most of the time they already kind of knew me because I've just been lurking for so long. So it was pretty like, oh hey, I know you. Okay, yeah, let's do it. So it was really lucky, honestly.
Do you have like a favorite track off the EP as a listener?
It's really difficult. It's really difficult. I think that the one that I perform the most would be Sekai no Wari de Aimashou, which is just the title track. And obviously I feel very strongly for to that track now more than I ever have, because Charlie did produce that track for me. And I remember we were working till the very last, the night of me needing to send all my materials to get the CD produced. Before I had like an event that I needed to have it at, because I was releasing it at this event. Like it was the very last day, very last like couple of hours that we were working on that. So it was very stressful, but at the end of the day, like that track really, it's so fun to perform. It's such a good, fun, interesting listen as well. It's so varied, despite the lyrics just being the same all the way through. It's just a really good song. Outside of that one, though, I am really proud of Final Bubble Bath, because I produced that one all myself. And that is, I think, one of the last, if not the last time that I made a song for myself 100% myself as well. It is so fun to perform. And this is a bit a bit mean, but every time I perform Final Bubble Bath, there's a very quiet part where I just like make eye contact with everyone for a very, very, very long time.
Oh my god.
And I'm really lucky because I can cry on command. Thank you, theater school, as a child. So I a lot of times I'll cry during that part. Um, but during the quiet part, I also hear like a lot of sniffling from the audience too, and I really like, I feel bad because I'm like, oh no, I make them cry. Like I'm making people in the audience cry. I feel bad. But at the same time, it's like, oh, I'm getting the point in my music across to them, so I shouldn't feel bad either. But that's really fun to perform because I like looking out and seeing people like full red faces wiping their nose. It's really fun for me, so I like that one a lot too.
I see. So after Let's Meet at the End of the World, you did I would say single, right? It is a single. A
Yeah.
single
Yes.
called Last Paradise. And what was like the backstory for Last Paradise?
Last Paradise was, I started making it immediately after I finished Sekai no Owari de Aimashou. I did one maybe one or two performances of Sekai no Owari de Aimashou, and I kind of realized like, okay, I'm having a really good time with this, and everyone's being so honest with me and so like everyone's just being so kind, but I'm not necessarily being honest myself. So I cut my hair and I got my a new stage costume, and I was looking like the swaggiest tomboy, quote unquote, ever. And everyone was like, "Whoa, haircut! This is so cool." I did a couple performances, a little bit of a tour doing Sekai no Owari with this new costume, and then I workshopped Last Paradise, and it was my coming out song. And I knew that I had to come out through music because, in a sense, like for my parents, I was gonna. That's just how I was gonna come out to them too. Was just through music. I was just gonna do everything through music because my parents had supported me through performance and through my music for so long. So I thought, okay, well, I'm just gonna make a song and I'm gonna make a music video, and they can listen to the song all they want before it's out because they don't know what I'm saying. It's in Japanese, so they're not gonna know. Even if I'm like, oh no, it's very much like a gender dysphoria type of song. Like they're not gonna know. But they saw the music video accidentally beforehand, so they knew. Um, and I thought that the best way to come out to everyone in the world that knew me was through this music video and through this song. So that was kind of my idea with it. For better or for worse, you know. I mean, I'm here still today and still vibing. So I think that it turned out okay in the end.
Yeah, I'd say so. When you when you came out, what was your fan base's reaction to, I guess, you coming out and also the song?
I I think that a lot of people, well, everyone really, really liked Last Paradise. I a lot of people still like talk to me about Last Paradise, and they're like, "Oh, that's my favorite song of yours." I don't perform it all that often anymore, um, but people still are very much like, "I love it every time you perform it." I'm like, "Okay, work." But the as far as like me coming out, I think that everyone overall was supportive. Um, but I think that my fan base definitely shifted at that point. I think leading up to that, a lot of people were like, "Ooh, quirky, weird, like Dempa type of wacky girl with long hair who crawls on the floor and like spits blood. That's so whoa, that's so weird. She's so hot." But even though it was like a mental health project and never like supposed to be like a gooner, you know. But whenever I was like, oh, actually, by the way, I'm queer. I think that a lot of people, I think that everyone was definitely still supportive because of I was always very outspoken about like my beliefs and things, through music, through live performance, through my blog at the time, through like everything. But I definitely did notice, and it still happens that a lot of the fan base that I did have that would come see me at like every show ever, it definitely they stopped coming to see me as often. Like they had their like cordial like wow, and if they do see me at an event, they'll buy like a single photo card or something. But they're not out here buying like my T-shirt. They're not buying my single. They're not buying all of my new photo card set. They're not buying like I lost a bit of the Oji-sans on that day. However, I did gain a lot of like young queer fans and also a lot of Fujoshi. I got a lot of Fujo fans now, which I'm not mad about. I'm not mad about. You know, it's fine. It's great. They're great. They're fantastic.
Right.
So it was more of like a little bit of a shift. I think that everyone's so cordial with me. Um, and I like having like younger queer people and even older queer people who are just starting to get to like know themselves be like supporters of mine more
Oh shit.
so
What's
now
that?
stuff, and they realize I could
Okay.
do stuff too.
Oh yeah, your
Okay.
mic cut out a little bit. So
No! But basically, I think that a lot of queer people now they see me and they realize that they can also pursue music still, and they can still pursue like performance art and in various ways and not be as ashamed. So while I don't have OG Sans buying every single piece of merchandise that I have anymore, it's okay because I feel like I'm getting to inspire people a bit more and like the inside, and in a way that's kind of what how my first meet and greet felt and how I like why I liked it so much. So yeah,
I see.
I think I think that that's kind of where I'm at now.
Can I ask a question? It's not on the sheet, so I'm so sorry. But like, do
Hmm.
you still perform like songs that you did or produce like pre-transition?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I spent so much people don't talk about this. Music making is so expensive, you guys. Um I will be performing pre-transition songs until the cows come home.
All right.
When pigs fly, I will be doing it until they fly. You know. I also have like I have no ill will for anything that I did like pre-transition. You know, I'm proud of all of the work that I've done. I've always been the same person. So ultimately, like I had such a good time working with these producers. I had such a fun time writing the melodies and the lyrics for these things. Um, so I think that, and a lot of people still want me to sing those songs, even though it sounds different. The heart is still there. So I think that a lot of it needs to still be performed, even though it might be in a different octave now, because I'm 2 octaves lower. But that's okay. As long as you're okay with it, I'm okay with it.
I see. Yeah, I was a little bit curious. I was like a little hesitant to like say it or like ask it, but like
Hmm.
yeah. Um, after you came out, you released well, you did Puzzle Box, which is cool. But moving forward a teeny tiny bit, you released your first album, which was The Diary of Our Years Together, September 21,
Mm.
2021. From production to release, how long did it take?
Probably about probably about 8 months to a year. It was actually, in terms of album, I feel like that it was pretty quick to come up with the whole thing. There obviously are a lot of songs on it, so there was a lot of like waiting around for things, but looking back it feels like it was so fast too, because we were like kind of still in lockdown for a lot of my production time on that. So everything felt very fast, because that was kind of what all I was focusing on that whole time.
Uh, what would you say exactly is the concept of your first album?
Diary of Our Years Together, the main concept of that one is I had always planned for it to be kind of like a love note, like a big love letter to everyone that has supported me, from the beginning, from me as a kid, from just all these different stages of my life, for everyone that has shown up for me. That hence why it's called The Diary of Our Years Together. The title track is very much a an homage to that. There's even lyrics that are inspired by my first debut performance as Melancholia, even in the song. A lot of it is just based on things that made me who I am like now as an adult versus who I thought I was, so I'd say that that is the main concept of the album. And it's definitely one of my proudest works yet.
Yeah, I was listening to it like before the interview. It was really good. Like
Thank you so
out of
much.
like out of like all the kaigai idol like scene, like this is probably my favorite. Like this is not me glazing. This is like
Thank
really good.
you.
It is really good. So
Thank you. Thank you. I
so
appreciate it.
um, what would you say, uh, as a producer? What would you say is your favorite song that you've created on that album, and also as a listener?
Ah, this one's really hard because outside of just like concept, the Diary of Our Years Together had a lot of like bucket list type of like big dream things for me in that release. So I'm a really big fan, and since middle school, I've really been a really big fan of the like Japanese underground like shoegaze rock scene, and a lot of artists that I grew up listening to, as well as some artists that I had recently found a couple years prior that I was really, really into. I kind of had this crazy idea. I was like, what if I just emailed them? Like, what
Shoot your
if I
shot.
just asked if they were available to
Yeah.
make some music? Because in the past, that's always gone really well for me. I think that a lot of people are like nervous to like message a producer here or there, but most of the time, as long as you're willing to like pay the money, a producer is willing to work with you, because it's a two-way street. They get to make you're paying them to make music, which is the goal and dream of any musician ever. And they get to work with you, and you're in as a kaigai idol, you're an international person, so their sound will get to reach other people, and they're getting to collaborate with a different artist because you're doing your own lyrics and your own melodies and your, there's, it's such a fun collaborative thing. So I just messaged a couple of my favorite bands, and I was like, "Hey, like, what can you do that?" And Nana Ito Love Story was made by Azusa of For Tracy Hyde, which is a band that I love so much. Well, obviously they're not in existence anymore, and I'm sad, but that's okay. So he did that song, and that was the first person that I had contacted, and he said yes, and I was like, that's crazy. So I was really excited. He had also produced for idol groups like Dots, Tokyo, as well as Ray. So I was like, there's no way. But that happened, and I was really excited. So I would conceptually, I'd like to say that that is one of my favorites, as well as the title track Diary of Our Years Together. But I think that I have to give it up, both production and like from like listening to Goodbye, I'll See You Tomorrow. That is like my, I can't explain how much that song means to me. It is produced by my favorite band ever, Nuit. They're a very, very small like indie rock band. But oh my god, the vocalist of the band, Ota-san, he is so kind. All of the members of the band are so nice. Oh my god, they still check in on me. They're so nice. They worked so hard on that song, and I listen to it and I'm like, wow, like it is everything that I could have ever wished for ever. It was so fun recording it. I feel like it was really made for me, and like I know it was, obviously, because I paid the money for it to be made for me. um but like I really felt like they understood exactly what I wanted and exactly what I needed. And even now, like, that is one of my favorite songs of my own to listen to. And I normally don't like listening to my own music, because I just don't like listening to my voice. But I will listen to Goodbye, I'll See You Tomorrow on loop fully.
I see. Yeah, like, yeah, the whole production and all the tracks are really really good. Like,
Thank you so
this
much.
is not me like fluffing up the gas. This is really just me like saying what I feel, because like it is shoegaze as like in the kaigai idol scene is very unique, and like to see you like do something with that Jesus, man. That genre is really really good. It's awesome. So.
Yeah, it's my favorite, and I kind of always wanted to do shoegaze, but it kind of took a little bit of a turn. If I go in my Spotify right now and I pull up my inspiration for just Sekai no Wari de Aimasho, most of it is shoegaze, and that EP ended up being more like EDM in a sense, J-core-esque. I don't know how it happened, but I'm not mad about it. But my goal has always been to do like more like J shoegazy type sounding stuff, or at least more like shoegaze inspired. So I'm really happy that in more recent years I've been able to work with producers and composers that really obviously they're plucked straight from the scene, so I'm it is my it's so I'm so grateful. I'm so happy.
All right. So with the first album out, I guess we'll move like into the general present, and like I'll just ask like general questions. Do you remember like a performance that was like that you would consider weird out of like all of your tenure as Melancholia?
Yeah. I right off the top of my head, I did this like there was and I love the people that run this event. They're very nice. I did a performance with Club Kaiju. And the event was ran very well. They listened to everything that I needed. The people there were wacky.
Like, what happened?
It was like it was really interesting. I was open This is this is just so strange. This is like the strangest thing ever. I was opening up for Teddy Lloyd. I was like the opener for Teddy Lloyd.
What?
Okay, but okay, so Club Kaiju a lot of times, or at least they used to whenever they were first starting, they would do they'd bring idol performers and then also like J-core EDM like type of performers. I think that mainly now they just solely do EDM performers and very rarely they'll bring like idols. But I've been longtime friends with the runners, so I was like, okay, cool, yeah, I'll come to your show, like let's go. When I was doing my concert, obviously it's like a club scene, so people are like drinking. This is not an anime convention, it's like a standalone event. Um some guy just like comes up and like starts dancing on stage with me and I'm like,
What?
sir, sir. So I didn't know what to do because like I'm actually like I don't have a manager, I'm not prepared for things like this, so I just kind of was like, give it up for this guy. I after my show was done, Teddy Lloyd was on, and I went back to my meet and greet table and like my merch table because I was like, okay, my show's over, it's his turn. I'm gonna go on my table, and people were on top of my table, raving on top of
What?
my merchandise. I was
No!
like, oh, bro, I'm so cooked. It was a really long drive up there, and I get really badly car sick, so
Oh.
I was already like nauseous that whole time because I was car sick for 4 hours. Um, it was a time. It was still a really fun show. It was a really fun show. I think that I ate hard for having to use a wired microphone the whole
Oh.
time. But it was a show. It was interesting.
On the other side of that, do you remember a gig that you would consider your like the the most difficult or like the most toughest?
Mm, a tough gig. In terms of like solo stuff, I really don't. I really don't know if I have one, or at least I don't think that I have one that I really consider to be a tough gig. I think that I have had shows that are like with smaller audiences and they don't really know like what's going on. Like they don't know anything about idols, but it's like a small like it's in the middle of nowhere, you know. Sometimes I get billed for conventions that are like in small towns. And they're just looking for anything to like they're trying all these different types of guests to see what sticks. They'll bring J fashion guests to see if they they start curating like a J fashion community in that town, or you know, an idol to see if they can harvest some new idols in the town, you know. So I think that those are relatively tough, because it's hard to read if the audience really likes it or not until my meet and greet hours. You know, it's difficult to gauge, are they into it, but they're not leaving, so that must mean that they're into it. But I get really in my head about things like that, and I try while I'm trying to think on the spot, like, what can I do to make this more exciting? What can I do to make them smile? But they are still like staying there, so they must be enjoying it. You know, it's I read into performances a lot while I'm actively doing them. So that I'd say that overall is tough, but I wouldn't really be able to name a specific event.
I see. Yeah, it's like that's like the usual like general two questions that I ask because like it's
Mm,
interesting to like hear people's like stories of like of what they would consider the weirdest and like what would they consider like the
yeah.
most difficult. So yeah.
Mm.
Since you as melancholy you performed like before the pandemic and then when lockdown happened, what what did you do? What happened?
I think I think a lot of that I was spending so much time working on my EP, or not my EP, my album, and I was teasing like work on my album the whole way through too. So I was still trying to find ways to connect with people that was supporting me, but also during that time there was like this big influx of like online idol festivals. So I was very active in online idol festivals at that time because I could just record anything in my house and like and still like a little bit of a performance. So there was one really cool one. I think that it was a Spanish based idol festival called Idol at Home. So cool, so cool. They did so many really cool events, and it was really fun to be able to like perform alongside like idols from other countries. Even though it was virtually, but they would always invite me back to their events as well, and that was something that was really fun to kind of connect with people through that way. There was also like online conventions that I got to do like panels and like do like exclusive video presentations at and things like that. So I think that I did relatively well during that time, and I also released at the first half of it. I released both Last Paradise and Puzzle Box during that time. So I was trying my best that even though I couldn't perform live, and I think that that's part of the fun of Melancholia is like live performance. But uh, I think that doing so much behind the scenes work, technically, even though it was just online, I think that really still helped me um, maintain everyone that was supporting me.
Do you remember like your first performance, like after lockdown, after like all the restrictions? What was that
I do.
like?
I do. I should have said this for one of my weirdest and
Oh,
toughest
oh
gigs.
no!
I I I think that if anyone Googles this place, you'll hear a bunch. Um, there is an event called PoochieCon. It's in New Jersey. Um, they well, I don't want to give too much tea, but basically, I did that. That was my first performance outside of like after pandemic things. And I was really excited because obviously, one, I'm doing an out of state show in New Jersey. This is so exciting. And I was just finishing up my album, and this was like the first event that I'll be selling it at. I got new shirts, new everything, new costume that I haven't been able to wear. um but it was I was one of the main guests, and I was performing in a panel room that is the size of my bedroom on a
What?
carpeted floor, a wired mic.
No.
There was no sound guy. I was the sound guy, so you see me like running back, pausing and playing and turning up my levels.
Oh.
It was interesting. It was interesting. But that was my first show after the pandemic.
Was there people watching at least?
Yeah, there were
Okay.
people
Okay.
there.
Okay.
There were people there. But yeah, it was yeah.
I was expecting like like a lot of
A
people,
big fan.
big
Like,
fans.
yeah.
Yeah, but no, I was not expecting. Wow,
Not
what
quite.
one man
Quite.
army?
Not quite.
Oh
Not
man.
quite. It was still fun. I spent all of the items, all of the money that I spent in my scary, all of the money that I earned in the artist alley immediately after. I got a whole lot of Magical Girl stickers. It was a great time in the end.
That's pretty good, eh? You know what? Turning
Yeah,
lemon
yeah,
to lemonade.
yeah.
Yeah. um. Uh. Like doing research on you specifically. I skimmed through your Twitter, and then like there was like one tweet where you were like what was it? You were playing an arcade game that had I think your song on it, but like also you mentioned that you had asthma, one, and two, you had a heart condition.
Oh.
Has that affected like the amount of time you've been on stage?
Um, Sometimes it does. Sometimes it does. Normally whenever I actually perform live, I kind of like check out. Not necessarily that I check out, but I'm like extremely calculated in my head the whole entire time. So if I'm feeling some sort of way physically, I don't really know because I'm so focused on like calculating like, okay, I'm out of breath a little bit right here, so I'm going to take the lower octave at this point so I can not be straining my voice at this point. And I'm gonna stop performing and I'm gonna sit on the floor all weird at this point so I can catch my breath. Or, a lot of it is like very like calculated, or like they don't seem as into it right now. I'm gonna just walk out into the audience. It's a lot of like playing by ear, being really on my toes. So I don't really tell until I get back to my hotel room. Until the meet and greet is over, I'm back at my hotel room. I have declothed. I'm in a very big hoodie, and then everything hits all at once. Um, I don't really have any like I haven't had any live performances where my heart condition really like hinders me live. But there has been a lot of like while I'm working. A lot of times if I am not getting good sleep and I'm working a really long hours on things, um sometimes my like heart stuff will like flare up and I'm like, okay, like this is I'm checked out for the night, but then I'll actually be checked out for like a whole week because it makes my bones hurt and my muscles around my bones hurt and just it's not fun. Not fun. Don't recommend. 0 out of 10. No one get one of these. Thankfully it hasn't really affected me while live yet. And I'm gonna knock on some wood somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'll do some for you. There we go.
Thank you. Thank you.
Out of all of your discography, out of all like the 3 singles, the 2 EPs, the 1 album, Partridge in a Pear Tree, what are 3 songs that mean the most to you?
I think that the ones that probably mean the most to me are obviously "Goodbye, I'll See You Tomorrow." Um, not only was that song like written by my like favorite band literally of all time ever, but it was also um I wrote it very much about like my childhood. So it was very something that was very personal to me at the same time, but hopefully it's something that everyone can still relate to of having a good friend kind of stick it out with you and tell you I'll see you tomorrow, and that tomorrow is something that you're really holding on to keep going. That one was just it was just a really good song. I really like that one. I also obviously I mentioned it earlier, but Sekai no Ori de Aimashou. That is while Charlie and I have done a lot of work together, and we also did works that unfortunately never got to be completed and released together. Um, that is something that was like we did that. And while they're not in my life anymore, I have all of this music that we've made together, and I have the demos of things that we were working on together that really carried me through a lot of things. And after they passed, I made a vow to myself that every single performance I do, I will be performing that song now. Just because I feel them with me every time I do it, and they made that song specifically knowing that I could perform my heart out to it. So I'm planning on doing that until I'm done performing. And for a third one, yeah, maybe in my sunset. The story within my sunset's really cool. Yasuyuki Ota, the lead vocalist and like main man of New Eat, had messaged me right after my a performance of mine at Anime Week in Atlanta, and had said, "Hey, do you know Cruyff in the Bedroom?" And I was like, yeah, I'm not a loser. Like, of course I know that. And I got in touch with Yusuke, who is the main guy behind them. They're this legendary J shoegaze band, have been around for decades. Just oh my god. And he let me know that he wanted to produce a song for me, and I was like, me? Like, I'm just a guy. And I was just riding off this high of after doing a out of state performance that went really well, and I had a really good time with it, and I was staying that weekend with some of my best friends, Nayo and San of Excite, and I was just like, oh, it was everything. I was really having a great I was really having a great weekend. And he's just a fantastic guy. He also has done work. He's like the live band performer of the idol group Ray, and any chance he gets to include me, he takes it. Like, he sends me new behind the scenes work that he's working on all the time. And anytime he has a new event coming up, he does this event called Total Feedback that he runs, and it's just a bunch of like J shoegaze artists. He's always like, well, if you're gonna be in Japan during this time, let me know and I'll throw you into the lineup, and just all this stuff. There was a talk show event that Ray was doing once, and he said, "Hey, we did that one song together. Do you want me to play it in the store's radio the whole time?" And I'm like,
What?
yeah, like what? Like he's just so nice. And it was just crazy to me because that Crave is really a band that I had been listening to. I own all of the Total Feedback CDs. I've owned them for years. I love Total Feedback. I love his work. So hearing like, oh my god, like yeah, I know who you're talking about. Like he wants to do a song for me. So In My Sunset was really it was really magical. I was not planning on that release at all until Ota-san had messaged me saying that, and I was like, okay, I guess I'm gonna be planning a release now. So that it's a really really special song for me.
I see. Yeah, like it's interesting to like hear because you have like a tenured career out of like most of the people I've had on Idolize. You have a legit discography. So like
I
it's
try.
it's
I
it,
try.
it's interesting to get your perspective on like what
Mm.
songs actually mean the most to you. So
Yeah.
good stuff. um, with that, I guess we'll head on to the future section. We're going back to the
Mm.
future. Comparing the kaigai scene to what it is now to when you just started out, has it improved for the better or for the worse?
That's a bit difficult, honestly. I mean, I think that it is certainly different. I think it's certainly different. I think that, and this is, in a way, this is coming all from, like, I know that I've done a lot of stuff, but in a sense, I also feel like an outsider a lot of the time. Because I mainly do original work and not being like I'm better than somebody because I do original work, but I definitely do feel like I'm kind of put in like a different base a lot of the time because of that. And I have a hard time relating to like other performers that I'll like be in festival lineups with because everyone's laughing and talking about like Project Sekai together and I don't know anything about it. Like I don't know anything about it. But if somebody walked up to me and wanted to talk about a whack group, like I'm locked in. But like I don't like know a lot of like what people do. Like I know of it because like I see a knowledge thing and I suck it up, but like I'm not as passionate about those things as like other people are. Obviously I still want to support them and things, but I just like I don't know. I don't really know. So I definitely feel like very lonely a lot of the time. Despite being so like ancient in the in the scene, I don't really know how to like interact with people. And it's also like I have really bad social anxiety that's like super spiked in this last year. So I like extra don't know what to do. Whereas I used to be like the fun, silly one at idol festivals. I don't know what to do anymore. I'm like I'm the awkward one in the corner now. Um, but I I think that other than like the media that people are performing changing, because back in my
Back in
day
my
it was all
day.
hello. But I think that honestly it's different, but it's the same.
Oh,
Um, in terms of like for better or for worse, I think that a lot of people are still unfortunately like really mean. Like I really do. Um and I think that also a lot of people take this kind of thing a bit more serious than it needs to be. Obviously, like me, and that's coming from me as somebody who has like way too much music. Like obviously we don't want to hear from this guy about taking it too seriously. He spent like thousands and thousands of dollars on CDs that like three people buy. But I think that a lot of the times people get caught up in like I need to look this way, I need to do this thing, I need to get to know this one person, and I need to, there's you don't need to do anything. Like you don't like who are we? I think that a lot of people forget that even no matter how seriously you take it, like me, I travel all across the US for performances. Events fly me out to do their performances, but I you can never catch me um I guess like be like I don't know. I think that people take themselves too seriously in this field sometimes, and I think that a lot of people forget that we all have started out as hobbyists, and then I think that no matter how seriously you take it, no matter how much money you make off of it, you kind of have to remember that this is a community-based thing at the end of the day. And you have to keep community in mind and keep that special to you. And continuously think about the community that's there to support you and the community that you're performing alongside, and be mindful of everyone that you're interacting with. I think that it's important for people to take care of each other. And I think that a lot of people do that to each other's faces, but not necessarily like behind the scenes. And of course, I don't really have a whole ton of experience nowadays with that, but I do see it happening. Because I don't ever talk to anybody, but I think I do see it happening to a lot of people, and I think it's really unfortunate. Especially because I'm like, girl, you're gonna be performing with them next month. Like you gotta be like we gotta take care of each other. And I think that that's something that's missing nowadays, and I think that it was always kind of missing, but just sometimes it was behind the scenes and sometimes it was in front of the scenes. But I think that that's something that I spend a lot of time like thinking of. Just because I don't know, I have a lot of love in my heart, so I wish that everyone was just nice to each other and nice to the fans, and just have like realistic expectations for themselves and those around them. And um yeah, I don't know, that was a mouth load, I guess, of hobglosh.
No, that's fine. You know what? Idolize is for the appers, so it's fine.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah, as Royal says, it's the stop fighting dog. Stop fighting, so real, so real.
um, shit. How am I supposed to? How do I want to approach this? Um, kind of went through it with like the whole thing about like the old versus the new, but like,
Mm.
do you have any advice for I guess upcoming idols or like people that are starting out, like Royal, High Royal?
Yeah. um Literally just do it. Like stop waiting. Like stop stop waiting until stop waiting until you have the best performance outfit. Stop waiting until you can get a nice cover mix. Stop waiting until you can get a nice camera. Like just stop. Like stop it. You don't who do you want to do that for? Who are you are you just trying to impress people online? Like it doesn't matter. You don't know them. You don't know them. Do what you can right now. Do what you can right now. Because regardless, that raw material is there, and if people see you, they are going to want to support that, no matter what equipment you have, no matter anything. They're gonna want to support you, whether it's a live in-person performance that you audition for, and for some it's your debut, and somehow you're like, oh my god, I made it in, now what? um now what? I mean, just do what you wanted to do. Do what you wanted to do. I think that a lot of people get caught up in like, do I need to wait? No, I need original stuff. Oh no, I need a whole group of people to do this. You don't need any of that. You don't need any of that. If I think that a lot of people, if you have the heart for idols, if you love idols, just do it. Like not to shy above it, just do it, but genuinely just do it. I started this stuff because I loved idols so much. I never had the goal of like being an idol or anything like that. I just loved idols so much, and I still do. I'm ordering my Oshi's photo book. I'm pre-ordering it like tomorrow. Like I love idols. And that's why I want to do it, because I love them so much. And if I can make people feel the same love that I have for idols, and them watching me, and having it be like a vessel to the idols that like, it's this big chain reaction. Just do it. Like, just have fun with it. Don't worry about what people say. I'm so serious. You will free yourself. Cringe is dead. Free yourself.
Oh yeah. 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 Another usual like question, because like for you, veteran and veteran of the scene, so like it's
But yeah.
very much. I don't. Is it? Do you like being called a veteran, or is that like kind of fucked up to say that?
No, I am. I think that a lot of people I think that a lot of people like know that I've been around for a while, but I don't think that they know that I literally was I I'm like the crypt keeper here. Like I really am. Like I have the key and I'm standing at the tomb. Like I really so a veteran is fine, but I mean we could call me a crypt keeper too. That's
Crypt
fine.
keeper. All right. The crypt keeper. The crypt keeper or the
Yeah.
kaigai scene.
Yeah.
You know what? That's metal as fuck.
Thanks.
Uh, is there like any bucket list things that you want to achieve as in your idol career?
Um I think at this point, I'm not necessarily sure. I think when I first started, I really wanted to be like, oh wow, I want to perform in Japan and blah 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 and all this stuff. What I think that a lot of people have that like goal. I think that over time, my goal ended up to just be to continue making people happy and continue making people feel like they're someone that they can relate to and continue making people feel um just any certain way that my music does make them feel, because at the end of the day I make my music for myself, and if other people happen to enjoy it along the way, that's great and I love that. But I'm not really making it with certain people in mind. I'm doing it for selfish reasons because I because I want to do it. um I I do think just because there is an open invitation, I'd really like to perform at a total feedback event that Yusuke-san puts on. Just because he always sends me stuff of it and always says like if there's an open invite for you anytime. Oh, I would also, if I did that, I would also really, really, really like to perform "Goodbye, I'll See You Tomorrow" with Nui as the actual backing band live.
Oh.
That's one of my I'd want I think that I would just actually pass away. I think I really would. But that's just me being a New Eat fan, not even anything else. That's a selfish fan request. But I guess that those are some things that I would like to do. But if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. I think that my bucket list isn't necessarily like a a thing. Like I just want to keep on making people feel the way that they do at my live performances and listening to my music now until the day I just can't do it anymore. I think that that's my goal really, and to just keep having fun with it. And because I haven't always felt like excited and whimsical about like idol stuff. Like there's been a lot of hurt in my life for it. So I think that continuing to ride the kind of feeling that it's given me since starting Melancholia is something that I want to continue on until it makes me feel weird. But I don't. I mean, it does make me feel weird. Like I'm weird. Bleh. I'm like that. The girl with the corn on her head. She's like, I'm so funny. But you know what I mean. Like just until I am like fully disillusioned with it, I would like to keep going.
Going on after that, what do you plan on doing after being an idol?
So actually, I've kind of like taken a little bit of a break this year for a little bit, mainly because of course Charlie's passing really did a number for me, because not only did they produce a lot of tracks for me and we did a lot of music work together, but also they had mastered every single one of my releases, even up until In My Sunset. So they've been a part of my music as Melancholia from the beginning until my very last release that I did. So it was definitely, performing. I did all my shows last year that I possibly could. And it just kind of hearing the songs, even if it was made by somebody else, even if I made most of it, it really made me think of them a whole lot. So I kind of had to get some peace, I guess. But in that time, I have a little art business. I'm like an artist, like full time. So I mainly do art full time. And it used to be I used to do idol full time, but in this last year it kind of flopped. And not like my idol career flopped. Like, okay, flop. But like my
It's
main
swapped.
job
Right, yeah,
flopped, and idol is more part time than my art being part time. And so I'd like to ideally continue doing that for as long as I possibly can. I am celebrating like my second year of owning my shop, and I almost have 3,000 sales, and I do art vending shows, and it's all like my own handmade work. And it brings me a lot of joy and a lot of peace whenever I get really bad like social anxiety and feel like I can't be in front of people and feel like my voice will give out in front of people, and I'm just not as strong to for me, I took the break and I told people I'll come back and I'll see you whenever I feel like I can be a strong person for you to look up to again and look at again. Um, so whenever I'm not feeling that, that's something that I can really go back on and continue, but I can continue it on my own pace, and people will still be excited for it, whatever I do. And I don't have to be like the face of it. So that's something that I really have enjoyed and has brought me a lot of peace in this last year. So that's honestly after I like stop being an idol, which I don't know when that'll be. I've really played with the idea of stopping every single year since 2018. I've always just thought like, what if this one was my last show? And then I do like 12 more. Um, so I think that's probably just what I'll do after I stop. I'll still be around, but in a different form.
I see. Um, one one question that like I always ask people, um, what would the current you tell the melancholia that was about to debut?
Hmm. I think that I think that I would just say, I don't know, like fuck it up. Like the current like the melancholia that was about to debut, like he was raw as hell. Like fully like there was no fear. There was no fear. I was not nervous. I was performing in platform shoes that were like this tall. Like he did not give a fuck. Like he did not. Um so I don't think that anything that I could say now, because I think I've become a more sensitive person and a more private person over time, a more quiet person over time. I don't think that there's anything that me now could say to me then that would change anything in the entire trajectory. I think it should honestly be more me then telling me now something. And I think that me then telling me now would just say, fuck it up. So I think that it's really the same energy. I think while I have evolved a lot as a performer and as a person in these last couple of years, I also think that the core of myself has been very much the same. Like I've evolved a little bit, but I think that overall, like my morals and my excitement for things have kind of stayed the same pace. So I don't really think that there's anything particular that I would say to change things or say to encourage things or anything like that. I'm happy with everything that has happened, and how things have gone, at least from my perspective. So yeah, I don't think that there's anything that I could say that would do much of anything.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Cause, ooh, like when I ask this to like other people, like they're like, hey, go for it. And then like some other people, I like go for like some life
Mm,
changing shit. It's like it's interesting, like the dichotomy between like the two
yeah.
answers. Yeah. One last thing though. Any upcoming gigs that you want to promote?
Obviously, since this is a part of the NWIF
The whiff.
arc, I do have a live performance at NWIF
The whiff.
coming up soon. I have a lot of things in store at NWIF that I can't necessarily say a couple of them yet. But I will say that at NWIF there will be a new
Whiff.
item that will be purchasable, and a new thing that will be listenable during said event.
Ooh.
I haven't announced it officially yet. But wink if you know if you're catching my drift. something there, and the solo event will be for this said item that is in a Slim Jewel case.
Ooh. All right. With that, concludes our episode of IDOLEYZ, but we have a tradition at the end of the show where the show has a segment called The Worst Pep Talk Ever, where I give you the absolute worst pep talk ever, and it sucks every single time.
Bring it on.
Wow. Usually I get a minute for people, but for you, I'm gonna extend the timer to 2 minutes because this episode was really good, I would say. And honestly, sorry, Aiden, this is probably my favorite episode that I've done of IDOLEYZ.
Whoa. So. Aiden, I'm so sorry.
So yeah, I'm gonna give myself 2 minutes instead of the usual one, and I probably, if I had like my Oshis on, I'd probably like extend the timer, but like to like 2 minutes. But so anyway, 2 minutes for me, starting now. Oh my god. Honestly, you are really awesome. You are legitimately probably the coolest guest I've had on the show. Your discography is very much unique compared to everyone else's, and it's very nice to see someone that tackles like alt idol, that tackles like shoegaze. So honestly, like, your stuff is really, really good. And at IdolFest, I'm probably gonna buy all your CDs and a checky. But like, yeah, keep on keeping on. You have been through this for years. And I've, even though I don't know you, I would say like the you now is probably like the best version of you. So, yeah, just keep doing what you gotta do. And I'm here to support you through your like next projects and all that. I'm very much interested in like your next stuff, because like I love your music. This is not me like being like, oh my god, yeah, this is really, really, really good.
In the new Slim Jewel case.
Yes, the Slim Jewel case. I will get that. I will give you physical money or PayPal you, because physical cash is not great. But yeah, like, you just keep doing what you gotta do, and like, I don't know, like, you're very much different in a good way. Compared to like the other idols. Like, it's really bad to generalize.
I'm the weird old man.
No, don't say that. Don't say that. No. I mean, fine. Crypt keeper.
I'm OG-san. OG-san idol.
But like, yeah.
Mentally ill.
No. Like, yeah. Just, you are really good. Keep doing what you gotta do. I will support you in any way possible, because like, your stuff is phenomenal, and that has been probably the first ever 2 minute shitty pep talk. 2 minutes 11, whatever.
Thank you.
So, yeah.
Great pep talk. What are you talking about?
It's always bad. It's always fucking bad. Ever since like episode 0, where I gave a drunk pep talk to my Oshi, it's always bad. So yeah, it was an off guy.
I'm sure
it was a drunk off guy.
I think she loved it.
No.
Off guy. It was an off guy.
It was off guy, and I was rushing for the last train home at Akiba. It was so bad. Anyway, that's yes. Yeah, that has been IDOLEYZ, Melancholiaah. Thank you so much for accepting this invite to IDOLEYZ as a verb. Yeah, I can't wait to see you at Northwest Idol Fest. And like, everyone that's gonna be on this Nuif arc, I'm very much excited to see everyone perform. So yeah, thank you so much.
Me too. I'll be the OG-san in the crowd.
But this is not it for this weekend, as IDOLEYZ is having a back-to-back double feature, because tomorrow at 5 p.m. PDT, 8 p.m. EDT, we have another guest, not part of Nuif arc. Next week we have someone for Nuif, but we have Ricky Wilson, episode 19 of Isilio Project. They are I would say, how would I say this? A director, a producer, a manager, the man of 10,000 job positions. He manages Himari Tsukishiro of Isilio. So that'll be an interesting interview, as this is probably the first time interviewing someone that is not a community member and not an idol. So it's very interesting.
He's a nice guy. You guys will enjoy it. Come back.
Yeah, from like the 10 seconds that I talked to him at Natsumatsuri, he seemed cool. And like this interview has been in the works for several months. So yeah, that'll be tomorrow at 5 p.m. PDT, 8 p.m. EDT for JP viewers. That is September 2nd at 9 a.m. JST. Wow, 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 wow. And yeah, so Melancholia. Can I call you Mel? Is that fine?
That you could also just call me Marius. Like
Marius?
I used to
Okay.
hide my name, but I don't hide it anymore.
Okay.
I used to be like, I'm anonymous, just Melancholia, but Marius is okay.
Okay. Do you have any suggestions for people to raid?
Any suggestions for people to what? Sorry.
To raid, to like go into, cause like usually.
Oh, raid! Oh my
Yeah.
god! Let me see. Who I'm following. I forgot. It's been so long since I've been on Twitch. I like forgot Twitch lingo. Let's see. Ooh, there's okay, there's this one, since we were talking about shoegaze and stuff, there's this one VTuber that is also into shoegaze.
Ooh,
I don't think that they're doing anything like shoegaze related, but they like it. So their username is aka_I, aka_AI. Very cool vibes. Very cool vibes.
Oh, I see.
I have no idea what they're doing, but
what are they doing now? They are. Ooh, this is mobile. Why'd they go to mobile? They are currently doing so. They're currently offline. All right. Shit.
wait, no! Wait, no! No!
Whoops.
What?
You know what? Is there like any idol person on my following? No. Great. You know what? Rare time where I give the viewers and you, Melancholia, the gift of free will. Do whatever you want. Go watch whatever. Go do anything you want. So free will.
Everyone should go watch RSC concert. There's some of them for free on YouTube. Go watch one of those and treat yourself for a good night.
Do that. Yeah. Go support Melancholia. And then probably watch IDOLEYEZ tomorrow. Yeah, woo! And I think that's probably it. Take care. Brush your hair. Be kind. Rewind. We'll be going to our ending screen now. Oh, and the VOD for this this interview will be uploaded tomorrow at 12 p.m. PDC on the IDOLEYEZ IDOLEYEZ YouTube channel. youtube.com/@IDOLEYEZ101. So yeah, and it'll also be added to the Twitch archives. That's fine too if you want to watch there. So yeah, cool. Take care, brush hair. Take care, brush hair. Oh, fuck. Take care, brush your hair. Be kind. Rewind. Louis, go into ending screen now. Wow. Bye bye. Wow.